People tend to take their friends for granted.
Yeah.
And not in a malicious way, but just, you kind of you see them every day, you talk to them all the time, you kind of forget why you have them in your life at times and stuff like that. And he was kind of saying, a lot of you have to approach your friendship as though you believe that they're legends in the making, from the standpoint of they have goals and dreams that they're working to accomplish,
Okay.
and they may or may not do that, but you want to make sure to always support them. One, because they're your friend, and two, just like believing in the people around you, essentially. And it just reminded me of something that Issa Rae once said, where she was talking about networking, and she said a lot of people approach networking. She didn't say this, but I'm going to say it. It's basically like dick riding. You know what I'm saying? You want to
Yeah.
attach someone else's coattails, or you want to attach your name to a bigger name than you. And she
Or they
was
want
saying
to
you want to
network with bullshit. Like networking is not come in my section in the club and have some drinks. Like that's not
correct. Yes, there's that too. Yeah.
that's just partying.
Yeah, that's just that's just being a groupie.
Yeah, like it's not.
And yeah, and she was saying, you want to network horizontally, meaning, network with the people on your level. You know what I'm saying? Like, example, like obviously we have this podcast. There are other podcasts we're going to work with, that we people that we know, that'd be horizontally. We're not DMing, Joe
Drewski.
Rogan and
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Asking to go on their pods or have them go on stream, or pod with us, whatever. Not that we wouldn't, but it's just, what I'm saying. And I really like that ideology, because that's something I try to do a lot in my life, and support and share the things, of people in my life that are going for goals, and making art, things of that nature. Um, I know for me as an artist, like it gets frustrating when you see people like liking and sharing shit of like that they don't know, people that they
Yeah.
don't know, and then they don't like and share like your shit. Not that they're obligated to, but it's like, you kind of make a mental note, whatever. And then, or there'll be this thing where people will talk to you about the things they see you doing on social media, but they don't actually comment or like or share anything on the app. But in real life, they'll talk to you about it, things of that nature. So I wanted to kind of get your perspective on that.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree with networking horizontally. It's not really networking if the person you're trying to link with has no gain. Like that's just like
Uh,
that's just them. That's just you asking for a favor. Networking
right, fair, yeah.
almost exists horizontally in the sense that if we were to go on another pod, that would bring us their viewers and
Right,
likewise
right.
and the different perspectives or I might see the way they come in and out of a segment that I didn't I wouldn't bite it
Yeah.
100%, but like technically you would see how they navigate it. So yeah, I
Hmm.
wholeheartedly agree. Because if you only really engage with people like above your level,
Right.
you're not really you're trying to skip steps, like
Hmm.
when Issa Rae went to cast for Insecure, she didn't call Halle Berry and Denzel,
Right.
and well, those people would have been too old, but you know what I mean. She didn't call Michael B.
Yeah.
Jordan or established stars. She wouldn't got people you never heard
Yeah.
of, because that made the show more organic, and that she obviously could have. Well, I don't know at the time what her pull was for casting, but
Well, she had an HBO deal. I mean, she could have,
yeah,
you
true.
know.
But she knew and understood that the show would come off more real if all the actors and actresses were of similar fame level and had similar
Right.
skill level. And we've said this before, but like you go watch Lawrence in season one, and it ain't Lawrence in season five.
Right.
He was a little he was an amateur, for the lack of a better
Yeah.
word. And yeah, so she lives her raps, which is great. Um, and I agree. I think that's good advice to always network at your level and try
Hmm.
to cross cross train people,
Right.
because
Yeah.
again, once you try to go up, those people don't really have much,
They're
like
all
you're asking them
specialists.
for something. It's a favor.
Right.
Whereas, when you try to do it across your level, everyone has equal time and benefit from it that can come. So,
That's very true. And I also think like there is something to sort of like some of the principles and outliers. I haven't finished the book yet, but just what I've read so far is like a lot of it is who you are around really does matter. Like
yeah.
cultivating the people in your life, and who you work with, that really does matter. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stories in like we're a movie podcast, so Hollywood's going to be a big example here. Like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and Casey
Okay.
Affleck. They lived together. They wrote scripts together. They ran lines together, did auditions together. You know what I'm saying? They helped each other out on the way, instead of trying to attach themselves to a bigger actor to you know what I mean to not friedel off of, but at that point, what is a big actor gaining off working with you? You know, or like there's so many stories of like groups of actors who were roommates when they first got to LA, and they kind of supported each other, and one would help each other. Tobey Maguire and Lee are a big example. They weren't roommates, but if one got a role, they made sure the other one was in their movie type shit.
Right.
Um, yeah, where you about look, you about to say something?
No, it's called in economic terms, it's like talent clustering.
Yeah,
New York City's comedy scene is just every time you go out, you're just there's an exponential benefit and a compound effect when you get people of similar skill levels and they cluster together and they work together. And
right.
all of the tech innovations out of San Francisco, most of stand-up
Hmm.
comedy comes out of New York City, most of the acting comes out of Hollywood. And that just isn't by happenstance. It's because that's where all the people
Correct.
were, and you see like the output, the productivity and the output.
Hmm.
It's on steroids at that point. And so, because
Yeah.
if you're doing stand up, like Jerry Seinfeld would say, I would go to a club and I'd be fourth on the list, and in front of me would be, and I'm not gonna know the name, Robert Townsend and Keenan Ivory
Yeah.
Wayans, and
Yeah.
and so might stop by, or and he was
Hmm.
like, iron sharpens iron. And he's like, if I
Yeah.
was in the bumfuck nowhere and I was the only halfway decent person and I got to feature for 30 minutes to 12 people,
Yeah.
like would I be where I'm at now? Like you couldn't like what it's like to
Hmm.
follow Keenan Ivory Wayans in 1982 on stage,
Right. Yeah.
it's just so yeah, I mean talent clusters and iron sharpens iron, and that's why like what she said is true,
Yeah.
look
100%.
this way,
Yeah, like even if you look on the credits of Eddie Murphy's like Raw and Delirious, legends are all over that production.
Mhm.
Robert Townsend directed the skit and I think the show itself. Keenan Ivory Wayans kind of helped write on it, I believe.
Who's the guy who
Stuff
did
like
Negro Damas on the Chappelle show? He was big around there.
Paul Mooney.
Yeah, you got Paul Mooney.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
big in that scene.
He wrote with Pryor. He wrote
Yeah.
some stuff for Pryor.
Sinbad was around that time.
Hmm.
That's one of the reasons people think the music isn't as good is because we just people don't network
Collaborate.
that same way and collaborate that same
Yeah.
way. You don't sit in the garage and dick around on instruments with your friends anymore.
Hmm. Yeah.
Everyone is just going from car to school, from school to practice to home to do homework, and then they sit on their phones so they go to sleep. And there's just
And
like
that's it.
no idle dicking around. Like when I was a teenager, I just like once my homework was done, I just went outside and me and my friends
Hmm.
just like played in dirt. I don't know, not literally, but just dicked
Right.
around. And
Yeah.
that's how a lot of the iconic bands started. It was just like some kid in the neighborhood showed up with his
Kid
guitar
in the
and was like,
neighborhood.
"Let me get some drums for Christmas." And so
Yeah. Um, it's like Andre 3000 said in his um Rock and Roll Hall of Fame speech, big great things come from small rooms,
yeah, it
you
all
know.
started in that little room
Yeah.
a couple years
Um,
ago on Headland and Delow.